Chapter 1. The Diagnosis. There's no right way to react when someone tells you they're dying. I was halfway through slicing a mango when Drew sat down across from me and said, "I have cancer." Just like that. No build-up, no warning. His voice wasn't shaking. His hands weren't trembling. He didn't even look scared. He just said it like he was commenting on the weather. I dropped the knife. He flinched a little, more from the sound than the danger, and I whispered, "What kind?" "Lymphoma," he said, "stage 3. It didn't register, not right away." My brain did that thing where it shuts down all critical thinking and just kicks into emotional overdrive. I rushed to him, threw my arms around him, asked a million questions, none of which I remember now. I just remember him holding me, patting my back like I was the one who'd been diagnosed. That should have been my first clue. But grief clouds logic. And love? Love is a fog machine. The days that followed were a blur. He told his family, then his coworkers, then, eventually, our mutual friends. Everyone reacted differently, some with tears, some with silence, some with rage at the universe. He played it all perfectly. He didn't ask for money, not at first. Just support, prayers, help getting to appointments. And we gave it. We all gave it. I went to Target and filled a basket with soft beanies, protein shakes, Epsom salts, a weighted blanket. I made a list of meal prep ideas for the weeks he said he'd be recovering from chemo. I even started Googling what late-stage lymphoma looked like. I wanted to be prepared, to be a good partner. And for a while, I thought I was. But something about his timing, his attitude, it kept nudging the back of my brain. Something didn't fit. Not yet enough to say it out loud, but enough to make me start paying attention. And when the first inconsistency came, it didn't arrive in the form of a lie. It came in the form of a party invitation. A party that was scheduled for a weekend he claimed he'd be too weak to move. Chapter 2. Rally and Raise. Drew didn't ask for money, not directly. He just mentioned, casually, almost reluctantly, that his insurance didn't cover everything, that the out-of-pocket costs were steep, that the experimental infusion wasn't part of his employer's plan. That word, experimental, worked like magic. It made people feel like heroes just for helping. And then Carmen posted the GoFundMe. I remember seeing the link pop up in our group chat. "Let's help our guy beat this. No amount is too small. #Drew's fight." I clicked without hesitation. The page was tasteful. A black and white photo of Drew, looking solemn but brave. A paragraph explaining his diagnosis. A modest goal, $25,000, for chemo, travel, and specialized treatment not covered by insurance. He didn't write it. Carmen did. But he approved every word, and within the first hour, it had already hit $3,000. By the end of the week, over $60,000. People from high school, coworkers, distant cousins, even my aunt from Chicago, who'd only met Drew once at Thanksgiving, donated $500 with the comment, "Stay strong, we're rooting for you." I should have been proud, grateful. Instead, I felt unsettled. He never talked about actual treatments, never showed me paperwork. His appointments were vague, always last minute, always just a little too hard to verify. Once, I offered to drive him to the cancer center. He said no. "I'm good, babe. It's exhausting enough without dragging you through it." I told myself that made sense, that he was trying to protect me, keep me from seeing him at his worst. But then Nina pointed something out. "Why doesn't he ever look sick?" I laughed it off at first, but then I started noticing too. His energy was fine, his color was fine. He was still lifting weights. He said to stay strong during chemo. He was still eating, still partying, still Drew, and the more money that came in, the more relaxed he seemed. Like the scariest part of cancer wasn't dying. It was remembering which lies he told last. Chapter 3. The Excuses. The first time I asked about his labs, he blinked like I'd spoken in code. "Labs? Your test results," I said, trying to sound casual. "You mentioned something about your white cell count dropping?" "Oh, yeah, it's complicated." He stood, stretching his arms like he was suddenly too restless to sit. They explained it, but I was kind of out of it. Chemo brain. I nodded slowly. Right, except he hadn't started chemo yet. At least, not officially. He'd told Carmen that his first round was scheduled for next Tuesday. But to Nina, he'd said it already started last week. To me, he just kept saying, "We'll know more soon." Soon never came. What did come was a long string of excuses for missed calls, for skipped follow-ups, for why he couldn't bring home any paperwork, for why the cancer center's website didn't have his name listed when I tried checking their patient portal. "You're paranoid," he said once when I pushed. "I'm not logging into anything on my phone. I'm trying to detach." Detach? He was more online than ever, posting inspirational quotes, sharing filtered selfies with captions like, "Some battles are invisible, but the warrior still fights." He even hashtagged one with #miracle-pending, and the donations kept rolling in. At one point, someone mailed a check, with a handwritten card that read, "My late husband had lymphoma. I hope this helps a little." He barely read it before tossing it on the counter. No emotion, no pause, just a smirk when he saw the amount. $1,000. "Old money," he said, laughing. God bless the guilt of rich people. That's when it hit me. He wasn't afraid of dying. He was afraid of getting caught. And the more cracks I saw in his story, the more I realized there was no treatment, no plan, no fight, only a performance, and it was time someone read the script. Chapter 4, The Bag of Lies. I found the receipts in a reusable shopping bag wedged behind his gaming chair. Not medical bills, not prescriptions, Gucci, Saks, Bottega Veneta. All dated within 2 weeks of the fundraiser launch. At first, I just stared. My brain struggled to make sense of it. I pulled one out, $2,800 at a luxury boutique downtown. The item? A belt. A belt. Then another, $1,450 at a spa, executive detox package. And the kicker? $6,200 at a hotel in Miami. 2 nights, rooftop suite, champagne package. I sat back on my heels. It wasn't even hidden. It was just tossed in with a hoodie and a charger. Like any other bag of weekend junk. This wasn't sloppy. This was arrogant. I texted Nina. Me. Found receipts. Not a single one medical. Nina. Holy shit, are you serious? Me. Designer clothes, hotels, a spa. He's not just lying, he's profiting. Nina. We need proof. Real proof. I already had it. I just hadn't looked close enough before. Later that night, while he was in the shower, I opened his laptop. The browser was still logged into the GoFundMe dashboard. Total raised, $73,512. Recent withdrawal, $10,000 to his personal checking account. No earmarks, no paper trail, no medical provider listed. Just a short thank you message he'd written to update donors. Treatment is hard, but I feel all of your love. Your support is the reason I'm still fighting. Fighting what? The urge to hit refund? I printed everything, screenshots, transaction history. I even emailed myself a PDF of the donor list. And then I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I called Gran. Drew's grandmother had always liked me, respected me, the kind of woman who still brought homemade jam to brunch and signed birthday cards in cursive. She picked up on the third ring. "Tessa, sweetheart," she said, "is everything okay?" I paused. "Not yet," I said, "but it will be." Because if anyone could shatter the illusion he built, it was her. Chapter 5. The Visit. Gran lived in a modest bungalow on the edge of town, the kind with flower beds. She still maintained herself, and curtains that never changed, no matter the season. When I pulled up, she was already standing at the screen door like she'd felt me coming. "Come in, baby," she said, voice calm but curious. "You sounded off." I stepped inside, suddenly 10 years younger. Suddenly unsure, but she poured me sweet tea without asking and led me to the floral couch where I'd once opened Christmas gifts with Drew. Back when I thought I knew who he was. "I need to show you something," I said. She waited. No rushing, no fidgeting. Just that steady look of hers, the kind that made grown men rethink their tone. I handed her the folder I'd brought, printed emails, GoFundMe statements, and a note I'd found from his friend Jason, thanking him for letting me crash at the suite. She read in silence. Her mouth never moved, but her grip tightened slightly on the edge of a receipt, the one from the hotel. "That boy," she said finally, setting the papers down. "He used my name, said he was sick, said he wanted to be strong, for me." Her eyes didn't water. They sharpened. "He used my friends. My bridge group donated. My pastor donated. He let people think I was sitting at home knitting prayer blankets for a grandson who was out sipping mimosas." I nodded slowly. "He's telling everyone it's terminal." She inhaled deeply. You've done right bringing this to me. You still love him? No, I said. I think I love who I thought he was, but that person doesn't exist. She gave a slow nod. Good, then you'll do what comes next without flinching. What is that? She smiled, tight-lipped. We tell the truth. Chapter 6, playing along. For the next 3 weeks, I smiled through my teeth. I liked his posts. I brought him ginger ale. I nodded sympathetically when he said the nausea was back. I even sat beside him while he posted another update. Scan results tomorrow. Keep those prayers coming. #fighter, #blessed. He tagged me in it. I reshared it. Because that's what good girlfriends do, right? At least until the scan results actually came back. Except there were no results. No appointment, no scan. The day he claimed to be at the cancer center, Drew was actually at the mall, buying a leather jacket. Gran followed him. She didn't even disguise it, just tailed him through Nordstrom with her phone out, filming as he laughed with the cashier and swiped his card, fundraiser debit in hand. Then he stopped by a juice bar, made a show of rubbing his temples, and took a selfie. Later that night, that selfie hit social media. Post-chemo fatigue is no joke. Grateful for this community. #healing. We had the receipts now, literal and digital. And yet, I wanted more. It wasn't enough to know he was lying. I wanted him to explain it, to justify it, to try, even poorly, to talk his way out of it. So when he got home that night, I was already on the couch, laptop open, the GoFundMe page on full display. He blinked. What's this? You raised $73,000. He shrugged, fake casual. Yeah, I mean, people are generous. I tilted my head. Did they donate for a spa trip? Or the leather jacket? Tess, he said, already playing wounded. Are you really accusing me of faking cancer? I didn't answer, just turned the screen toward him and hit play. Gran's video. His jaw twitched. She followed me? No, I said. She saw you. Like everyone's about to. That's when his mask cracked. You don't get it, he snapped. People want to give, it makes them feel good. I just gave them a reason. You gave them a lie. And they bought it. He said, that's on them. I stood. No, that's on you. And now, so is what comes next. Chapter 7, the link. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was conflicted, but because I was done. Done covering for him. Done nodding and smiling and pretending that what he'd done was some kind of gray area. It wasn't. It was theft. Cruel, premeditated theft. And I was finished being polite about it. The next morning, I posted nothing. I didn't make a scene. I didn't blast him on socials or stage a viral takedown. I just sent one email. To one person. Gran. Subject line, thought you might want to share this. Attached, a single GoFundMe link. His. She didn't respond. Didn't have to. Because by 2 p.m., it had already begun. The bridge ladies went first. They posted on the campaign page, subtle at first. Praying for you, Drew. Hope to hear more about your treatment soon. Then, any updates from the doctors? Would love to help more if there's a clear plan. Then came the cracks. Someone from this old church added a comment. Just found out my friend's son was denied assistance because they thought they'd already helped you. Hope this isn't a misunderstanding. And then someone, probably Gran, forwarded everything to a local journalist who covered community scams. By sunset, the headline was up. Fake fundraiser? Local man's cancer campaign raises questions and eyebrows. I didn't comment. I didn't need to. He did. He spiraled. First came the frantic texts. Drew, what did you do? Drew, you're ruining my life. Drew, don't you get how hard it is to be me? Then came the edits to the campaign. All funds were used appropriately. Any confusion is due to clerical errors. Then, the deletion. But it was too late. Screenshots were everywhere. The fundraiser was archived by watchdog sites. His Reddit history, dug up and dissected. One user posted a thread titled, "This guy tried to milk us with fake cancer. Here's where the money really went." It had 9,000 upvotes by morning. And Gran? She simply posted one line to her Facebook page. If you see my grandson, let him know the Lord sees everything. And so do I. Chapter 8, the interview request. It started with a DM from a reporter named Celeste Aguilar, freelance journalist for a national podcast on scams and digital deception. She was polite, professional. Hi, Tessa. I'm doing a piece on deceptive fundraising and came across your ex-boyfriend's story. I understand you might have some insight. Would you be open to a conversation?" For a moment, I hesitated, not because I was scared, because I was tempted to forward everything I had, tempted to speak into a microphone and watch the whole thing blow up, bigger than either of us could control. But I paused, because I knew the question wasn't really if I'd speak. It was when. I wrote back, "I'm not ready to go on record, but I can confirm everything that's been shared publicly, and I'll send you something privately that may help clarify his motivations." She replied in minutes, grateful and curious. I sent her the folder. The one with the screenshots, Drew bragging in group chats about how gullible people are when you mention cancer, and joking that bald filters were enough to get donations. The one with Jason's texts congratulating him on the best grift I've ever seen, bro. And a voice note. One I hadn't shared until now. It was from a party 3 months ago, back when Drew was sick, where he was caught laughing in the background, saying, "If I'd known pretending to die would pay this well, I'd have started years ago." Celeste's response was immediate. "That clip changes everything. Thank you. I'll be in touch soon." 2 days later, the podcast went live. Title: Donor Deception, the fake cancer campaign that fooled a whole town. The episode didn't name me directly, but anyone who knew the story knew. And Drew, he posted a story on Instagram calling it a hit piece and accusing bitter exes of ruining his life. That story disappeared in under 2 hours, because by then, the podcast had been picked up by local radio, then a national morning show, then, finally, his job. I got the alert from LinkedIn. Drew Marks is no longer with the Foundry Group. Underneath, seeking new opportunities, open to relocation. Chapter 9, The Fundraiser Refunds. It started quietly, just a line added to the bottom of the GoFundMe campaign after Drew restored the page, probably hoping no one would notice. If you donated and feel misled, you may request a refund using this link. It was the digital equivalent of mumbling a half apology while looking at your shoes. But word spread fast. Within 48 hours, the campaign total had dropped by nearly half. Donors weren't just backing out. They were furious. Some were demanding interest. Others threatened small claims court. A few hinted at criminal complaints. And still, he tried to spin it. He posted a note to his story. The campaign was always about hope. If some people want their money back, that's fine. But I know I made a difference. I nearly choked. Made a difference? You lied about cancer. You bought designer sneakers with someone's church tithe money. Gran wasn't done either. She printed out the refund instructions and handed them out at her knitting circle. Mailed them to every relative in her address book. She even taped one to the bulletin board at the community rec center. "This is what accountability looks like," she told me, over her second cup of black coffee. "He'll learn, one way or another." The funny thing was, Drew still hadn't figured it out. He thought this was about the money, about embarrassment, about one disgruntled ex. He didn't realize it had become a community reckoning, because it wasn't just me anymore. It was his old classmates, his former coworkers, even a couple of his side flings, who reached out to say they'd seen the signs but didn't know how deep it went. Turns out, lying about a terminal illness is a pretty efficient way to unite people against you. By week's end, GoFundMe had frozen his account. His new opportunity fell through. One call from the podcast producer had been enough to make HR go silent. And the final blow? An email shared with me by a not-so-anonymous tipster. "Mr. Marks, due to recent developments, your request to speak at our Motivational Youth Summit has been declined. Apparently, you don't get to fake cancer and give TED Talks." Chapter 10, The Final Thread. I didn't expect the Reddit post to go viral. I didn't even know it existed until someone DM'd me a screenshot. Title: Update: Guy who faked cancer for GoFundMe got caught. Here's what happened next. It was written by someone anonymous, but it had the tone of a friend who knew everything. They laid it out like a timeline, from the fundraiser's launch to the miracle diagnosis to the podcast. They even linked clips from Drew's now-deleted stories and embedded a copy of his refund form. The last line hit hardest. There are liars. And then there are people who make you hope they're lying. because the truth would be even worse. This guy was both. It got over 50,000 upvotes in a day, and suddenly the fallout spread beyond our small city. He was tagged on Twitter by a verified journalist. Another podcast offered me a spot on their Grifters and Gaslighters series, and Drew's old college roommate posted a TikTok stitching all his fake updates from the GoFundMe, with real clips of him drinking at parties while undergoing chemo. I thought that was the end of it, until I got one more message. Not from a stranger, from Drew himself. It was long, rambling, an attempt at apology, or something like it. I know I messed up. I was scared of being ordinary, Tessa. I thought if people pity you, they won't leave. I didn't expect you to burn it all down. I didn't reply, not because I didn't have anything to say, but because some endings don't need commentary. The damage had already been done. His friends were gone. His job too. His online presence scrubbed down to a single dormant Instagram filled with vague captions and zero engagement. And Gran? She updated her Facebook profile again, this time with a quote that made me smile. Let the liar lie. The truth walks with its head high. Epilogue, the clean ask. 3 weeks after the podcast aired, I got an email from GoFundMe's trust and safety team. It was simple, direct. Hi, Tessa. Thank you for helping us investigate this fundraiser. We've closed the campaign and issued full refunds to all verified donors. The remaining balance has been transferred to a verified cancer support organization in your area, per our platform's fraud policy. I stared at the message for a long time, not because I was surprised, but because it felt clean. No drama, no shouting match, no drawn-out legal process, just a full-circle moment, his lies funding something real. I didn't tell anyone for a couple days, not even Gran. I wanted to keep that moment for myself, just a little longer. But the universe, it had other plans. A week later, I was at the farmer's market, browsing soaps and succulents, when I saw her, Drew's grandma. She was handing out flyers for a local charity walk. Cancer awareness, of course. Still dressed in her lavender cardigan, still wearing her Ask Me About Miles for Miracles button. When she spotted me, she smiled like she'd been expecting me. I heard, she said. I blinked. Heard what? She patted my hand. The money, the refund, the donation, all of it. Then she reached into her tote bag and handed me a copy of the flyer. Come walk with us next month, she said. You've already taken the first steps. That's the thing about people like her. They don't need to say thank you with words. They say it with action. And as I stood there, holding that flyer, watching her walk away with that same proud posture and no-nonsense bounce in her step, I realized something. Drew may have faked a story, but mine had already gone further than he ever could.
Thanks so much for watching. If you love a good revenge story, or if you've ever dreamed of getting the last word without saying much at all, you're in the right place. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new savage ending. Because around here, karma always hits different.